Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singer-songwriters and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is a singer-songwriter based out of Monck, Ontario, and everywhere else. She has been performing since her single digits with influences drawn from folk legends such as Neil Young, Bob Dylan, Bonnie Raitt, and bands like the Zombies, Led Zeppelin, and the Band. The Grateful Dead is especially close to her as well. She is currently the lead of a band called Drop Dead Poppies. So let's spill the tea with Poppy Miers. Welcome, Poppy.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Lots to chat about with you, from naming of the band, your
hmm
influences, all that kind of stuff. Let's start off with the family influences on your music career, because you said you started when you were in single digits, so
Yeah.
that's a couple of years ago. Where did the musical influence come from, Poppy? Was it mom, dad, grandparents? What got you interested in music?
To be honest, I my parents they never really had a whole lot of music playing in the background. My dad, he loves opera,
Hmm.
like Pavarotti. He would always put on opera and classical music, and I loved it as a kid. And my dad also really likes the Beatles, and so he put on his favorite album, which was Magical Mystery Tour, a lot. And I
It's a great
loved I
album.
yeah, but I remember like my parents they put on music once in a while when guests would come over, but not really, how some people have music on all the time like I do now.
Mhm.
And he bought this one album called it was Cliff Richard,
Yeah.
Greatest Hits, and then the Drifters Greatest Hits.
Wow.
And I was about 6 or 7, and I remember just playing those CDs until they burnt out. And I could, because the harmonies for the Drifters were something that just stuck with me.
Right.
And with Cliff Richard, it was the songwriting. It was just, very simple country kind of style songwriting, but very beautiful and told a story of love, really, of how he fell in love with this girl. And I really loved his songwriting. And then when I became a preteen, that was when I heard Zeppelin for the first time and CSNY for the first time. And my brother, Barney, I have four brothers and a sister. I'm the youngest of six. And my brother Barney got me into that. He got me into Radiohead. And from there, it was just basically, I only listened to music. For 2 years of my life, I only listened to music. And didn't have many friends, but then I did have a lot of friends. But like,
You, you
music
had
was my
you
best
had,
friend.
you had five siblings.
Yeah, exactly. But like you just kind of something, I don't know what it was, but something clicked with me when it came to harmonies when I was really young. And yeah.
At one point in time, you went back to your British roots and you tried to play the bagpipes. Um, Tell us about that experience. I mean, with my last name, my father was Polish, but my mother was Scottish. So I grew up with a lot of bagpipe music
hmm
around the house. And I have to say, even today, when I hear the bagpipes, I get chills. There's something about it. I don't know whether it's in our blood or not. But what was your experience trying to play the bagpipes?
First of all, I think it's absolutely in our blood. There's something that you feel like you could take an army of people up to the top of a mountain as soon as you hear the
Braveheart.
bagpipes.
We're all Braveheart when we hear the
You're all
bagpipes.
exact. Yeah, but my dad really wanted me to learn the bagpipes. He's a glorified Scot, and I tried it, and I tried it again very briefly at my 30th birthday party. And nope, it is a difficult instrument. You have to really know how to breathe.
Yeah.
Like you have to because you're basically filling up a lung and then squeezing the air out. So you're working on that motion while you're trying to do a tune. And like whoever invented the bagpipe, kudos.
You had an adventure coming back from Australia. You went to Australia and hit COVID and
hmm
trying to get back at that time. Tell us about that.
Oh, that was crazy. So Sean and I we had just started dating. We've been friends for a long time, and he ushered me over to Australia, and we lived in a place called Usher, and it was great. And when COVID hit, we were quarantined there, which was actually quite fun. And, we got everyone got served for the first few months. We were living in Australia, and we just had this group of friends that played music, and one of our friends spun fire. We had our own private beach that it was a nude beach that no one ever went to. So, and you just walked through this Australian bush about 20 minutes down this massive sand dune, and you got to this huge beach, and we just had these amazing beach parties every day, playing music, swimming with dolphins. It was pretty unreal.
Hmm.
And then when COVID got pretty serious, and Scott Morrison, who was the prime minister, was like, "Hey, if you're not Australian, we really would like you to leave this country,
Get
please.
out.
Get out." We had a flight booked for April, and our lease was coming up at the end of March. And we tried to extend it, and the landlord was like, "No, sorry, I'm trying to sell the house." Anyway, we had these flights, and then one morning they got canceled.
Hmm.
And I had called Cathay Pacific, tried to get another flight, but we couldn't. And the only remaining flights were on Qatar Airways leaving Perth because we couldn't get to Sydney. You had to quarantine each province, I guess,
Right.
Australian, yeah, to get to Sydney. And we were in. It was leaving Perth, and it was $2,400 leaving in 48 hours,
Wow.
or $14,000 leaving the next week for a one-way flight.
Oh my. Oh
So
my.
Sean and I literally put everything on Gumtree, which is like the Australian Kijiji, and we sold our car. We sold all of our furniture, pots and pans, our bed in 24 hours. We basically just opened our house to anyone who wanted to buy any of our stuff. We drove to Perth, sold our car in Perth, and then hopped on the plane. And it was like a war zone. It was bizarre.
Man,
No
oh
food
man.
at the airport. You had to prepare yourself for no food on the plane too. It was pretty crazy.
You did some busking in
Hmm.
your early 20s. I love to hear the busking stories because they are they are one end of the spectrum right to the other, from good experiences to challenging experiences and some hair-raising stories that come out of them. So what was your experience with busking?
Well, what's the area where Hennigan's is, or Hemingway's? That Cumberland Street,
The
that kind
Cumberland?
of,
Yep. Hmm.
yeah, like Bay and York area.
Yep.
Or yeah, so that area is where it's a really great place to busk, but it's very competitive
Hmm.
because you do need a busking license, but you can also, I know this is going to go on radio, but you could plead ignorance if you're young enough to be like, "Oh, I didn't know." But this was in my early 20s, so like
You
20.
only get away with that when you're the youngest child in the family.
Exactly. Exactly. You're just ignorant. You don't know. But but so I went there to play a few times, and there was always this one guy that would get there before me, and he would shuffle he'd be there, and I would be at a good distance away to give him respect, but he would always end up playing a lot louder. And I remember he almost followed me into each. So then I went outside Bloor Station, thought, okay, so this is far enough away from him. He can't even see me. And lo and behold, I could hear someone playing around the corner, and he had set up shop right around the corner. I was like, is this guy trying to play me out? And I was really young. I was like 20, 21 at the time. And I just remember one of my favorite parts was when I finally was able to set up outside Bloor Station and play without any disturbances. This one woman came up to me and like emptied out her purse into my guitar case and
Wow.
said,
Wow.
because there wasn't a lot of female buskers, I guess, at the time.
Right.
And it's quite intimidating. It can you have to really. I wear sunglasses when I used to busk because then I pretend like I'm invisible. You know what I mean? When you wear them and no one can see you, they just hear you.
If they can't see me, I can't see them.
Exactly.
But that's a nice experience when somebody actually does that. I mean, when they give you tips, put money in your guitar case, or
Yeah.
in one busker, one artist said she was busking, and there was this little girl that came up. She was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and she tried to put the money in the hole in her guitar. It's like a piggy
Oh
bank.
no, no.
So
That's really sweet, though.
lots, lots of great experiences. Let's talk about the band,
Mm,
Drop Dead Poppies.
mhm.
How did you come up with? I mean, poppies. Okay, we can draw the correlation for the poppies, but why Drop Dead Poppies?
It's been such a point of contention, not point of contention, but it's been a, so the original name of the band was Poppy and the Tone Mamas, which, yeah. But we also, Paul, who's the slide guitarist and the pedal steel player, he and I have been in a band before called Bad Dad and the Pool Girls. We actually got into Exclaim magazine and Now magazine playing Canada Music Week,
Hmm.
but that was years ago. The I didn't really want to have a something and the something, and so half the band didn't want that, half the band did. And then one time they really wanted my name in the band name, and I was indifferent. But one day we were just at band practice, and I had just seen one of my favorite childhood movies, which is called Drop Dead Fred,
Oh yes, yeah, yeah.
and with Rick Mayhall. And anyway, so I just watched that movie, and then we were just jamming around, and I was like, "What about the Drop Dead Poppies?" It's got the dead reference in there. It's close to home for me. And without even explaining it, the band loved it. But then eventually they hated it. And then eventually they loved it. And then eventually they hated it. And now we just stuck with it because we've got quite a good following now of people who come out to see our shows, and they call us DDP, or they call us the Poppies. So it's just, you kind of, you create the name, and then the fans are the ones that make the name, you know?
Well, you're a little bit of a deadhead, so
Oh yeah.
you
Just
like that you follow the Grateful Dead, and
yes, I do.
so bring that
Well,
into
Dead and
your.
Company.
So let's get into one of the songs that Poppy wrote. This song was released in February of 2025. It was recorded by Patrick McCourty and Paul Phelan, who is also the band's guitarist. Let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Poppy Miers and her song More.
Give me a reason why I should stay. Give me one reason before I walk away. Give me an answer, what I'm doing here for. Give me an answer before I walk out the door. What about trust? What about tenderness? What about love? But I want more something, more of anything, more of you, more something, more of anything, more of you. Why you so lazy? Why you so sad? You're driving me crazy and I'm driving you mad. I'm gonna leave this place behind. I'm gonna move mountains when I make up my mind. My mind about trust, my mind about tenderness, my mind about love. But I want more something, more of anything, more of you, more something, more of anything, more of you. I've written my story, I'm gonna keep it that way. I made me a promise that I'd find a new day. I'm gonna leave my troubles far, far at bay. I'll get what I want, just need to find a way. My way of trust, my way of tenderness, my way of love. But I want more, more something, more benefit, more of you, more something, more benefit, more of you,
That was More by Poppy Miers. Poppy, tell us, what is that song about and what was the inspiration to write it?
I wrote it when we went to band practice. We were just jamming, and Paul came up with these chords, and I was quite frustrated that day. I mean, I drive 2 hours for band practice, and my job is quite unsatisfying. And just in that moment, I wanted more from life. And so, what the song is about someone who is never really quite satisfied. You know, like some people don't recognize that in themselves, and some people do, where they just constantly want more. And so in this song, you have the progression of someone who's blaming someone else, and then they're blaming their surroundings, and then eventually they're blaming themselves, knowing that no matter what I do, I'm always going to want more. And so it's a song that's driven by a feeling.
Poppy, tell us, how do people find out more about you and your music? What is the website? What's the socials? What are the streaming platforms that you're on?
So we're working on a website. Don't worry about that. But Instagram, Drop Dead Poppies, and on Facebook we have Drop Dead Poppies. We also have a YouTube channel, Drop Dead Poppies. You guessed it. And we have a lot of live music uploaded. We will be having some lyric videos posted soon, and we also have a second release coming out March 3rd, which is very exciting. And then an album in the fall.
We have been in conversation with Poppy Miers. Poppy, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, David. This has been so much fun.